Good afternoon, everyone. Nice to be with you again today. This is the session which normally people hate and love also. Hate because I am in between you and lunch, but trust me, the kind of retail leaders that we have today, I am sure you're not going to regret that part. Today, we are going to talk about forces shaping strategy. Now, all of us have been discussing and we have heard over the last 2 years what kind of challenges, what kind of strategies, what kind of technology, what kind of many such words that we have been using, over and over in the last 2 years, and most of them have been abused. But today, what we are going to discuss, we are going to discuss those same words. But here today, our experts are going to throw some light on how and what of those words are all about. We are going to talk about forces shaping strategy. Many factors are influencing strategy formulation. Okay. However, according to the experts, the key among them in the current situation are three: competition, technology, and consumer. Consumer is something that nobody knows. It's like you can never know the consumer, but still we have got consumer research, consumer insights, so on and so forth. Technology is ever evolving and it's as constantly changing as we all have been experiencing. And competition. You will never know who moved my cheese, and that's what competition is all about. So the, the three forces are competition, technology, and consumer. With all these three factors in a constant flux, and the challenges businesses are facing are daunting. And they cannot resort to traditional approaches to strategy as the pandemic has completely demolished some of them or many of them. Today, it has to be planned from the lens of a new, differentiated capability and dexterity perspective. So, this can be harnessed by the power of data, reimagining entire value chains, automation, intelligence, so on and so forth from a tech perspective. But how are we going to embrace the risk and rehearsing the future and exploring the uncharted terrain is something which we'll have to deliberate today. With this as a small background, I would like to start the session by asking the first question to our dear panelist, Mr. Gunjan Shah. Gunjan, this is for you. Okay. So, hello, check. So, Gunjan, just to give an introduction, I would request you to just give a two-liner about how the business is and how the market is all about. Just to give a fair introduction. We have got your numbers here, which are very exciting. I'll come to that later, but just an overview of how the market has been in the last few months.
Right, right. No, so thanks a lot, Hitesh, for one is, inviting me here, and I think welcome to everyone. Very, very heartfelt happiness to see everyone together physically, right? I think a lot of people have already said that, and I'm sure a lot more will echo the same emotion. Hitesh, to answer your question, I think, last 2 years or so have been actually very, I think, turbulent would be an understatement, right? Especially from our industry point of view. And turbulent in many ways. It's not only demand conditions or fulfillment conditions, but in terms of consumer dynamics, in terms of behavior, purchasing behavior, etc., right? I think all said and done, the last few months, obviously, just like most people that I've met today also have echoed, has been, how do you say, a consumer vengeance back into purchase. And that is what everyone's seeing, and we are also seeing. Yeah.
Thanks, Gunjan. So, with this, Gunjan, the main question that I wanted to ask, with 1,400 COCO stores and 300 franchise stores and 25,000 MBOs, how has what is your current priority in terms of the consumer change that has happened? And how have you taken care of that consumer change?
So I will try and see if I can put it simply, right? As I said, the consumer change has been at various levels. But from my organization and a category perspective, I think there are two, three things that I would say are the key drivers for Bata, right? And one is that I think he or she has dramatically changed in terms of the way that person sees footwear, which is critical for us, right? I think the consumer has got used to comfort in a certain form over the last 2 years. That choices have evolved, right? And now, while they go back to normal life, they want to make sure that that comfort stays with them. And that is something that is very critical at a very large scale in terms of the way we go about our product portfolio going forward. The second piece is that I think there is a lot of, because of I think the digital explosion, which was anyways underway, got accelerated over the last 2 years. I think the consumer's awareness has dramatically gone up. And even in the hinterland, down pop strata, down income strata, right, SEC classes, I think the awareness and therefore trust as well as value proposition of brands has gone through a significant upgrade, which provides an opportunity for a brand like ours, right, of how we make sure that we are available to consumers where they want us, whether it's digital or offline, whether it's rural, urban, etc., etc. So I think these are the two big changes, and I'm sure we'll hear a lot more.
Sure, sure. Over to Rajneet. And Rajneet, I would like to ask you this question. We'll change the slide to Domino's, please. Yeah. So, so Rajneet, with the kind of the outlets and the spread that you have across 322 towns, today the strategy is to be planned from the lens of a new differentiated capability and dexterity. So this can be realized by harnessing the power of data. And I can see that you have got NPS at 70%, and I can also see that online delivery sales is 2,800 crores plus. Okay, how is Domino's using technology and data to drive growth?
A very good afternoon, everybody, and thank you, Hitesh. A real pleasure to be among everybody. I think everybody's saying that, but honestly, I'm getting goosebumps here. I've not seen such a big crowd. It's always been through the lens of Zoom, so it's really good to be with everybody here first. Just a brief for everybody. Domino's is in 96 odd countries. Something which I feel very proud about it, that outside US, India is the largest place for Domino's with more than 1,500 stores. So that's a big, and we're not even a pizza eating country, right? So this is the love and affection that all of you have given to the brand. From a Domino's business, I know we sell pizza and we are a retail company, but at the heart of it, we've always believed that we are a food tech powerhouse. I mean, that's the way I've always envisaged it. That's the way we've been bringing it. So therefore, a digital first approach is something that we've been bringing in for many years. It's not that over the past years, but we've obviously accelerated that. Today, the vitamin D in one of the forums we were discussing last time, vitamin D for retail is 2, digital and data. We've been hearing this so much. So that's the vitamin D that we go by. And my team here knows that we talk that don't talk English to me, talk maths. I'm a numbers guy. And W. Ed Hardward had said, in God we trust, rest all must bring data. So that's how the organization works. I mean, that's how we go by in terms of getting data and digital first. I would put it in 3 phases, the way we use data to harness, the consumer experience. One is to look at a deep understanding of consumers. And a Zeno friend here was sharing in terms of how people click and how we look at that. The second is how we can enhance data to, look at consumer experience. And third being, you can like marketing facts. Just an example, and I was sharing with Nishant here. His daughter loves the 4 cheese pizza, he was saying. So today what we use technology in a way is that I know if her daughter, she's there and she's chosen 4 cheese pizza, we know that she's a high frequency customer and 92% of the time she will go through the cart. The difference between getting the product to the cart and payment is around 2 minutes 34 seconds. That's an average that we've seen. So what we do is when we see that happening, that person has put in the cart and he's a high frequency, we trigger to our store that this person is ordering, 92% will go through. So the staff, we call it shoulder surfing, the staff starts preparing, stretching the pizza and start making. And that's why we get to the journey of 20 minutes delivery that we're raving at. I know a lot of people talk about 10 minutes delivery, but we make fresh food made for your order and deliver. And that's what the aspiration is. So that's why we use data in one form of knowing exactly what the consumer looking at and therefore using that to enhance the customer experience.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Devendra, for you, what is the distinct shift in consumer behavior that matters to the brand to drive the demand with the new value proposition that matters to the consumer? So how do you look at this, Devendra?
Thanks, Dr. Bhatt. And I think all of us are overwhelmed. We all were speaking. We've never been with so many people. And I think there's also some confusion because we were talking behind. Some of us will go back to work from home after the session. So you're coming out, you're going back. So it's actually a state of flux. And the whole digital revolution which we adopted during the pandemic, right? Like we became more social and we introspected and reflected. So I think it will not be an understatement to say that all consumers actually have now become love seekers for themselves, like what matters to them. Like these things were never questioned, like how much are you going to travel to work or what you're going to eat or what is more important to you in life or, you know, whether to buy a house or to. I think people are going through a massive change and all of retail or all of shopping is getting impacted. And I'll tell you that while we've all come out and there's this, of course, there's the benefit of unlock, which we all are seeing even in our stores and footfalls are up. But we have not left the digital world which we have adopted. And thus there is this fight between digital and non-digital suddenly, you know, amongst ourselves as consumers. I think it is yet to settle. And what is also happening is like, you know, when you were introducing, I was watching the audience, you still see 30-40% people are always on their mobile. So it's like a constant in and out, yeah, physical, digital, and I think we live life in micro moments now. If you can't get attention within some seconds digitally, I think those brands won't make the cut. Another trend which I see is in the pandemic 2 years while we were at home, we must, of course, we adopted OTT so much more than normal television channels. But what came in our lives more was social media. We started spending time on mobile or laptops, and I know people who've never spent so much time on YouTube now follow some channels and influencers. Now those influencers have come into your life and they're not going out, right? And now you don't have 3, 4, 5 celebrities who can influence you. Actually, now there are thousands of influencers, and we just did an event 5 days back in Bombay with SBI cards, and there were some 6, 7 top influencers. It was mind-boggling to see the number of followers and how people crazily follow them. And as long as your values, your passion aligns with that influencer, I think influencers are making more choices for you than brands. So how do brands get used to it? I think that's going to be another very, very big question. And lastly, you see, and me and Damodar, from many years back, we used to always speak this, you know, always that, you know, back of the pack will become one day a front of the pack. This is like going to 2010 and 2011.
Yeah.
And there is a brand called The Whole Truth, which has got launched in the pandemic, where they've reversed everything. The back of the pack, the mandatories is actually on the front of the pack. Everything. Because people want to know what they're eating. And the transparency, the whole transparency and sustainability, we believe that it's a fad. I think it's very serious. You talk to the young people, it's going to change the world. So I think branding of commodities and what we eat, and you know, this whole hiding of behind natural sugar versus artificial sugar versus added sugar, marketeers have long taken refuge under it. I think that's going to go away. And one brand has done it, and I see that's a big trend. I can go on and on, but
Yeah.
I need to let others speak.
Thanks, DC. Before I come to Damodar Malji, I would like Nishant to answer this question. Nishant, consumer engagement now and in the future. Give us the perspective of what is the opportunity and what are the challenges, succinctly, please.
Okay, first of all, let me confess, the sight of the 4 cheese pizza in my house just lifts everybody's mood. So thank you for, serving us delicious pizzas. Now, Gunjan talked about, the availability of the brand everywhere. So brands have to be there where consumers are, whether they're online, in the store, experience zone, call center, Web 3.0. So brands have to deliver a seamless experience across these multiple channels, and it's not an easy puzzle to solve. This needs a single view of the customer, personalization, and so on and so forth. And I never imagined that I would go back to grocery shopping. But this weekend, I must confess, I went back to the Nature's Basket and did a mango tasting at your golf course store. So what does the future hold for us? Web 3.0 is already here, and products are getting created on the metaverse. So I love to collaborate and have a Bata shoe created on metaverse, or order pizzas, get it home delivered on metaverse. But the principles remain the same. You have to deliver a consistent consumer experience, whether it's metaverse, Web 3.0, or your online commerce channel, or the experience store. But there is an opportunity as well. We're talking about incentivizing the community through tokens, and these tokens can be really exchanged. The loyalty programs may be driven by tokens. But I said, the connected experience is a basic hygiene, and it remains irrespective of where your consumers are. And before I end, Reliance runs my house, so thank you, right from Wi-Fi to groceries. So I cannot imagine my day without Reliance.
Thanks. Bata shoe or a pizza on a metaverse. With that, let's move to Reliance Retail, the grocery business. Damodarji, you are called the modern trade, basically, but is e-commerce the new modern trade? And how does the Indian consumer see this? E-commerce, the new modern trade.
Thanks, Hitesh. Like others have made, I will also make a remark about the last 2 years.
Okay, please, sir.
And I won't say how happy I am to see everyone. I will say that in the last 2 years, we grocers, which is we kirana walas, supermarket walas, and home delivery walas, they're called e-commerce guys. But we found our place and our respect from the society. Suddenly, we were the dependable people who made homes run and who reduced one worry in the life of the society. Otherwise, we are these chota shopkeepers.
Absolutely.
But the last 2 years actually gave us a sense of purpose and pride and acknowledgement by the society. So I just thought I'll mention that. To your question,
Yeah.
it's a very simple answer. But for that, you have to change your shoes.
I have got many friends who are from the shoe industry here, so I can't take the name. But
So I'm
yes.
saying, see, you asked the question in terms of whether it is modern retail, supermarkets, or e-commerce. That's all a supply side way of looking at it. When I ask you to change your shoes, get into the customer's shoes.
Oh, excellent.
Preferably a woman customer's shoes, and I will tell you how modern retail looks like and why there is no confusion in my mind. So when I see it from a woman customer's point of view, what is modern retail? Modern retail is something that in this trade of buying and selling moves the power in my favor. Moves the needle of power in my favor. That is modern retail for the consumer. Yeah. And when I look at the traditional retail, the way retail used to be, the power is in favor of the shopkeeper. Yeah. What she wants to buy and the consumer and what she wants to buy is separated by a counter and then a man, and she cannot touch the product that she wants to buy. So that is disempowerment. The shopkeeper then is more knowledgeable, and he is standing between the customer and her products. Yeah. When we move to self-service retail, we take the counter out, we take the man out. So nobody is judging the customer. That to me is modernity in favor of the customer. So it's good. When we move to digital retail, we take the shop out. Now she can shop from her home. Sorry, I'm a grocer. My customer is primarily she, so bear with me on that. she can shop at midnight. It does not matter. And the fact that she has this choice to shop from traditional trade, which is high on service, closer to home, accessible, versus a self-service supermarket, which does not judge her and which celebrates choice, versus an e-commerce. I think that she has a choice itself is modernity. And let me close the loop by saying, as a result of all this, the traditional retailer, when he starts accepting orders on WhatsApp and start accepting payments digitally, that is another modernity in her favor. So all these are choices of modernity for the customer. I'm not making any choice on this matter as to what is modern. Everything must become modern because everything must move the needle in favor of the customer. As a businessman in Reliance Retail, what do? I'm making sure that whatever she chooses, I'm in the game. So I work with the Kirana stores and help them modernize. I run physical supermarkets and I also run digital grocery. So to me, all retail will modernize and all retail modernizing is very good for the customer.
Excellent. Moving the needle in the power of the consumer. That's what modern retail or retail is all about. Let the power be in the hands of the consumer. With this, I would like to ask again, Gunjan, the question about, how brand Bata, is connecting to the millennials, because we are on the consumer journey right now in our discussion. So let's pick up one of them and millennials as such. And Gunjan, how you are, addressing this segment?
Yeah. No, thanks, Hitesh. I think it's a journey, I would say, at least from my perspective. It is a journey that we are on for some time, right? And it is something that we aspire to continue. The objective is to make the Bata brand younger, right? And therefore attract millennials, get into the mindset of those consumers and what they need. There are multiple things that we are trying to do, right? One is first and foremost what I did hint towards when I spoke last, right? Which was making sure that our portfolio is attuned towards what they need. And that is something that I think we have made some good progress. There is some way to go on that front. And there are multiple things that are happening within the portfolio, whether it's fashion, whether it's casuals, whether it's sneakers, etc. Because that's what the millennials want. The second piece is making sure that we are following where she is, right? And the millennials are not necessarily behaving the same purchase behavior, which some of us non-millennials, right, and many others do, right? And making sure that we follow them. Now, they are wanting a differential experience, whether it's even in terms of not only online, right, but also in terms of offline, right? So what is the kind of cues that we can give them? What is the kind of omni-channel experience that can be provided, right? What is the kind of seamless transition that can happen between, let's say, a loyal Bata consumer who has been visiting us in our stores but can move online and backwards, right? And maybe for, let's say a service which is not necessarily a different channel for purchase, etc. So all of these are mechanics that we are trying to do. The last piece is to making sure that even this gets rounded off with the way we present our brand to consumers. So whether it's in-store, whether it's our communications, whether it's basically in terms of the visuals, to making sure that that also is attuned towards making sure that we make Bata brand younger and appeal to the millennials. Yeah.
Sure. So what we are looking here is, from a Bata perspective, is sneakerization and casualization of footwear needs. Am I right, Gunjan?
Yeah, one of the levers. Yes.
Yeah, one of the levers. Thanks. So with this, Rajneet, you have an excellent high NPS score, and Domino's has a high online and a high customer NPS. How do you manage to get that? If you can throw some light on that, please.
Thank you. I think I'll start by addressing what Damodarji just said. Getting into customer shoes. My learning and working with, earlier with Coca-Cola, with bottling partners, and now with the consumer-led, Domino's. To get into somebody's shoes, first you have to remove your shoes first. That means I have to remove my biases, my preconceived notions, my thinking that this is how consumer behaves. We don't know. We don't know what we don't know. And therefore, we went into a couple of years back in terms of very basic thing I call about leadership, about listening. We went into the listening sessions of what consumers really wants, what is she's looking at. And, having this omni-channel, a compelling omni-channel has always been a North Star for all of us, all of us in retail. But that's a lifeline for us when we went into this entire behavior. I'll illustrate with few examples, and this is nowhere in terms of preaching or anything. It's just that how we looked at our business and delivered. And I was just sharing, I worked in a company earlier, DC was my colleague in Coca-Cola. We used to have this thing calling having Coca-Cola at arm's length of desire. कि जहाँ भी हाथ करें वहाँ Coca-Cola होना चाहिए. And that's what the thinking I think I bought from there, that where is the consumer, where is she going and choosing, where is the millennials going and looking. And one of the things we realized that in 2019, I'm going a little back, and we had a lot of tech. We tied up with Indian Railways on the tech side. And today all you need to do is you put in your PNR number and you say which station you want your margarita or chocolate cake or garlic bread, and we'll deliver the pizza on your train, on your seat. So that's the back-end technology we said. We wanted consumer to have good food. I know a lot of us what kind of food we get at Indian Railways, no criticizing there, but we realized that if they want to have a really good food, all you need to simple check is put in your PNR number, we're able to reach out to you. So that was one example of where we said wherever consumer goes, we should be there. Second was extending our operating hours. I'm a retailer now. I have a property where I'm paying a rent. For me, if I open it early and close it late, जितना उसको मिल कर सकते हैं, जिसको बोलते हैं, that is the best way. So we used to close our stores 11 o'clock open, 11 o'clock close. But consumer today and last 2 years have completely changed with OTT channel. Everybody is watching late night TVs, everybody being there. They need their hunger pangs in the night as well. So we now open our stores in most main cities from 11 a.m. to 3 a.m., 11 p.m. to 3 a.m. And almost 6% of our revenue today comes from that. It's a sizable couple of 150 crores business because it's a retail store. And what we do is and therefore marrying technology with it is, we have one store which caters to one polygon area, but in the night the polygon changes to 3-store area. So what it happens is automatically it'll cater to 3-store area. So therefore it's profitable. It's not that every store has to operate a thing. So we operate around 880 stores, which cater to around 1600 stores that we have that area which is there. That's number 2. Third one, which is very close to my heart, when you say about consumer, 2 years back when pandemic happened, none of the stores, physical stores or grocery, किराने वाले का जो आप बोल रहे हैं वो इतनी ज़रूरत पड़ेगी थी कि we realized कि there's nobody who was supplying. There was no Swiggy, there's no Zomato, there was no Amazon, Flipkart supplying. We went and opened our stores because we're a food company. I told the team, we had riders. And what we realized is we tied up in 2 days flat time with ITC, Amul and Tata to deliver, and I had 25,000 riders, right? So I said, let me tie up with them and with our own app of Domino's, we had Domino's Essentials. And I could go and deliver atta, dal, milk to people there. One big learning there. One is my entire team rose to the occasion, because it was a purpose more than push. We were trying to push people, come to stores, deliver. And these are the times jab dande pad rahe the, lathi pad rahi thi. And my learning in India is, and we're in Bharat as well, while there's India, there's Bharat, that people in India don't just work from home, they work 1.5 feet down from here, from the heart. So if you're able to reach there and talk to your team and get this, the consumer really loves you, because now you're not delivering just pizzas, you're delivering everything. So there's just a couple of examples of how you can marry, where you want the consumer is, where you can go and deliver. And I'm not a soothsayer, neither I have a crystal ball to see what the future holds, but I can genuinely say that if you're able to marry consumer expectations with your data, digital, and able to serve them, you'll not only thrive, but you will really drive this business going forward. Thank you.
Thanks, Rajneet. I think that was awesome. Over to Devendra. Technology is playing a critical aspect in retail as in other businesses also, and we all know about it. But how can technology enable retail business to serve customers better in this connected world? Apropos your experience, Devendra.
So let me continue with the theme now, being in the customer's shoes. You see now, a lot of channels have come, like the latest one being D2C, direct to consumer. There was always the Kirana, then there was modern retail, then came e-commerce, then came horizontal, vertical marketplaces. Now, when you talk from a company lens, you take all these names. But when you put yourself in the consumer's shoes, actually all these don't matter. Imagine ideally the way it should run, and where technology will come, is today a company which was physical just by starting delivering or having an app, saying now we're in e-commerce. I mean, that doesn't work. That's just too basic. unless you stitch them together and it's seamless. I think this is just like for the namesake saying we were having a store and now we also deliver online, right? So ideally, let me tell you how it should work, and I think all of us are a little away from it, but we'll get there. You're going in a car and you're on a social media site, and let's say you find, given we have Bata here, let's say shoes, and then you want to buy them, right? And you click on the link of social media, let's say Instagram or Facebook, and it takes you to the company's brand page, right? And you don't find the size which you want, or the color, I'm just making it up, or the design which you clicked on. But then there's a chat which opens and somebody comes in, chats with you, like you get a chat bot, and it says that 1 kilometer away from where you are, these shoes are available and you can pick it up from there. Now see what's happened. All the channels are connected. Your e-commerce, your delivery, or they'll deliver to you, and your store, all are connected, but it rarely happens. You click on a social media, it takes you to a website, and sometimes things don't even work. I think the role of technology will come in stitching all this and making truly seamless. Like we all speak omni-channel. I think today we're not omni-channel, we are multi-channel. Like one company has many channels, but they're not connected together. The data does not speak. In our companies, we all started with this MIS, right? So some people use Excel sheet, some people will get reports from SAP, some reports are emailed. Depending on who you are and how you've grown up in corporate world, people are studying even data which is coming from the same source but converted into different form. And everybody has a different understanding of the same data in the company, even of the same customer, right? So first of all, I think as an organization, the biggest role of technology is to have the single view of data, that everybody in the company should see the customer in the same way, or the data. And then is a single view of the customer. And that was just spoken of some time back. If you ask in a company 10 different people, a marketing guy or a technology guy or a HR person, that define who your customer are, I'm not sure you're going to get the same definition. I think it's very important to get the single view of the customer first. Only then this whole omni-channel can work. And I think without technology, that won't work.
Thanks, DC. Before I come to Nishant, Damodar Marji, I want you to answer this question. It's a cusp of consumer and technology. And again, it's a cusp of, it's something related to the Desi consumer. How do you, in your view, does the Desi consumer, and the Desi consumer is not something who lives in the rural areas, okay, but it's all about the digital age. It's not about what is your physical age. If a 6-year-old or a 60-year-old, 8-year-old or a 80-year-old can do all the digital activities without any hassles seamlessly, then his digital or her digital age is extremely high. So keeping that in mind, Damodar Malji, what is your view on the Desi consumer and how do they respond to technology in retail?
Two facts which form the basis. One, digital enablement is world's best in India. Data pricing, we are the envy of the rest of the world. Rest of the world, I don't mean data providers, but the consumers. We are the envy of all consumers around the world, how easy access and how affordable data is. So that to us is unique. Second, for our income levels, we are far more, as people, we are far more digitally literate. Not because we are some cat's whiskers, but because our physical world sucks.
Yeah.
There are so many bumps in the way physical services are delivered in India that all of us as consumers and service providers find this digital flyover which goes over the Indian problems and solves things for us. So these two things are very, very in favor of digital democratization at all levels in India, and all of us have been beneficiaries of it, both as consumers as well as service providers. अभी तक मैंने जियो का नाम नहीं लिया, so you please note.
Yeah, I have also not taken, sir. Yeah.
I'll tell you what is different. And for that, I'll tell you a story. We have a very upmarket food store in BKC called Fresh Pick. All customers are padhe likhe. People who go into that mall are themselves filtered as higher
Upmarket.
higher living standard measures. Yeah,
Sure.
yeah. And we have a personal shopper, digital personal shopper there. Yeah. What is it? It's a little device which you can just enter your mobile number, pick it up, scan whatever you're buying yourself, and then just dock it in a self-checkout and check out. I'll tell you what happens. Only men use the personal shopper.
Okay. Only men use it, women don't.
Yeah.
And why so?
Why so? अभी नहीं बोलूँगा यहाँ पे.
ठीक है. See. So
Okay.
So the insight may be insight nikla hai, you
Yeah.
know. So that's where it is. But yes,
And then the interesting part, and I speak with
Please.
facts. This is not imagination. Okay, I run the store, so I know it. 92% of the men who are shopping with the digital personal shopper scan all the products that they are buying, bring their trolley to the checkout, to the self checkout, and they just call somebody. Bhaiya, why don't you check me out? Here is my credit card, or here is whatever. Why don't you check me out? The point I'm making is this is a country where everybody knows that train tickets are bought from a computer system called IRCTC. But a large majority of people still tell Goyal Travel Services, 10 rupees le lena, but please book this ticket for me. Yeah? This is a country where even air travelers don't even put money in a machine and dispense coffee out for themselves. So, yes, we are very digitally open, very technology friendly, but we are a do-it-for-me country. We are not a DIY country. Power works when it is fronted by a human. I think that to me is the Indian model, and that to me is the uniqueness about how the Indian consumer will have her way. Get all the benefits of technology, at the same time have her way saying, I want to be served.
excellent. Do it for me and not do it yourself. So this is the reason I got the answer why people, men especially, do this and women don't. Having said that, sir, I will come back to you again on this point. Before, I would like to ask Nishant, because we are on the tech front. Nishant, what role does technology play in making business agile, and more productive?
Sure, thanks. I'd love to get the answers.
Yeah, and it's in the continuation of the tech part, and then we'll come to the final leg of the competition as well.
Yeah. So tech essentially is the glue which binds all the consumer behaviors with the channels. So unless and until you have that tech glue with vitamin D, you're not gonna make a lot of headway. And the single platform, really makes the business agile. So for a moment, I'll want you to imagine that you're sitting in a cockpit where you see the entire consumer journey, including the checkout help that a consumer may need. And imagine you have various dials within that consumer journey, and you have 10 rupees to get allocated. So you have limited resources to be allocated on various channels. So how do I allocate these resources to maximize my dhanda? So whether I should put 2 rupees on social media, what is the return that I'll get? Or should I put those 2 rupees on a digital experience store or a online or a physical store? So what happens is, you have a visibility of the entire consumer journey, where you need to put resources, where you need to take action. And finally, everybody's KPIs are aligned to the CEO. Every action that you take has to result in either in a customer loyalty or in revenue. So that, it's again, it's a glue that binds the organization together and gives you a single view of a customer across multiple channels. So that, I would say, is the holy grail to...
Sure. Thanks. Coming back to Gunjan again, and this league is of competition, but we can answer it via the consumer and the tech lens as well. What is your growth strategy in terms of the near future, Gunjan, in terms of the India and how you want to take Bata? What are the growth areas that you are concentrating on?
That's a very broad question.
Yeah, and I've kept it broad so
Yeah.
that you can answer one gist of
Right.
it.
No, so I'll try and take one
Yeah.
topic out of that, right?
Yeah.
One of the things that I talked about. By the way, before that, and I'm talking on behalf of some of the footwear peers of mine who are sitting in here with me, right? It's very, very pleasing to hear there are so many customers' shoes that we want to get into, right? And that augurs well for our category, right? So thanks a lot for that. Coming back to the question, Hitesh, on a serious note, I think one of the things that we have seen, right, is that the digital explosion that we have talked about, without mentioning geo, right, is that we've seen consumer aspirations and awareness dramatically shoot up, right? Their access to media has gone up dramatically. You don't require to be literate to be digitally literate, right? And literate in the old sense, yeah. And you go into the hinterland, into the smallest of areas, you will see a shopkeeper watching serials on his mobile sitting in the shop, right? And this kind of access has also upped the entire brand value equation in the consumer's mind. The brand propositions are far more clearer to consumers. Now, the reason that I'm talking about this is what's also the phenomenon or an outcome of this is that there is a very large market, right, across brands and categories, even for us, right, which is unorganized. And that is, I would say, one of the large levers possible in terms of growth journeys, right, of these consumers who are becoming far more aspirational, who are becoming far more brand conscious, and they are now wanting that same kind of experience as well as brand product combination, right? Which the urban consumer, or let's say the one that was more evolved, is demanding. What this does is, Hitesh, for us is that basically we need to therefore see what are the levers of making sure that our brand is available, right? I have talked about it. There are various ways in doing that. I think one is obviously the digital commerce one, right? Consumers are latching onto it. Consumers across pin codes, across pop strata, etc., are latching onto it. But besides that, I think opening up the entire franchise model, I've spoken about it, right? That allows you to scale up in a cost efficient, or rather, more importantly, a capex efficient way, right? How do we make sure that there is a right model for it? But simultaneously, I think one of the metrics that was shown up for Domino's, right, NPS, right, I think is very, very critical, that even whichever model that you apply, whether it's digital or franchise or multi-brand route, right, are you providing the consumer a similar kind of or even better experience? And therefore, NPS kind of measures are going to be very, very critical. By the way, very happy to hear that Domino's sits at 70%. That's amazing metric, right? So I would say that's one of the big levers that I am seeing as far as growth goes.
So you basically are targeting the Bharat of India. Yeah. So the franchise footprint is one thing. I think tapping the unorganized markets. We, as a population of 135 crores, I think everybody needs footwear, and the opportunity is humongous. So the one of the levers, as you mentioned, I also agree, in all of us, is the unorganized market and catching the Bharat of India opportunity. With that, Rajneet, how do you see your growth strategy, and what are the forces that are shaping that the way, because you are also present largely in 322 cities with 1,500 outlets, so and 65% market share. So that's a humongous number already achieved. So what's next?
Thank you. And I'll just answer it in two parts. There's a strategy chart I have in mind while you're speaking. But this is not about strategy. We're all operators here, most of us here. I'll just say I'm an incorrigibly optimistic guy. My sense is India story, Bharat story, जैसे भी बोलिए, अभी बहुत scope है. I'll give you numbers just on a QSR industry perspective in our retail, in food. We are at 28,600 outlets all put together. Take a guess what China number would be against 28,600. Anybody take a guess? 4 lakh, थोड़ा सा ज़्यादा और? Any guess? We are 28,600. I heard 4 lakh. The number is actually, you'll take long evening if I keep continuing like this. There's 19 lakhs 80,000 odd. So हम 28,600 पे हैं, वो 19,80,000 पे. I mean, come on. The only scope for us, whatever I'm hearing, is giving more confidence that the consumer is going out and will spend and he'll consume and he'll grow. So for us, the first thing is headroom is for us to grow in terms of our presence, in terms of stores and in cities. For example, I picked up from your chart, Gunjan is here in 650 cities. We're in 322. We used to be 100 odd 4 years back. We've added more cities, but we have a clear plan in terms of how many cities we want to go to. And clearly, we've added 500 plus retail stores in the last, even with COVID. My sense is we can clearly double up our numbers in the next 3 to 4 years. I mean, it's about 4 years mein hoga ya 3 years mein hoga. That's the only internal debate we have. We don't have any doubt there. And the second one only I would say is the consumer part that we're saying is it's going to be about really delighting. 30 minutes of free we used to do many years back, and then if you don't do, we give money back. One of the things we're going to attempt very soon, as I say, we're already doing pilot in 500 plus stores, is that 31st minute, if we are late, we know, because we have GPS, we have everything, we have every data. If we know we are late, we don't want customer to ask us. We'll put money in your wallet on the 31st minute. You will see it in a couple of months from now. You will see that. So that's the way we want to work and really accelerate. So huge headroom is one in my mind. Thank you.
Thanks, Rajit. Damodar Malji, this is a question to you, and it's a wrong question because this is about competition. And who do you see as your national competition? How do you keep pace with them?
Unfortunately, I noticed that you've gone back to your earlier shoes.
I had no other option, sir.
Stay in the consumer shoes. And the answer is simple.
Okay.
The fact that I run a national network, the fact that I service 1.1 million customers every single day
Excellent.
is irrelevant. As far as my consumer in Mulund is concerned, as far as my consumer in Rajbihari Avenue in Kolkata is concerned, it is one relevant store that matters. If that store is good, if that store does better than competition, then Reliance Retail is good. If it is not, the rest of the power is useless. So that's how I look at competition. Never national, always every catchment. And here is another little secret. Our best performing stores, and I wish a lot of competition to myself, our best performing stores are actually where there is a competition located within 500 meters of my store. Because desi tarike se socho na, and I will, DC, with your permission, I will take an example. There is a very, very busy traffic junction opposite Mahalakshmi Temple in Mumbai.
Yeah. Haji Ali.
Haji Ali said.
Yeah.
Nobody in their right mind would go to do grocery shopping there. But you know what happens? There is a Nature's Basket there, and there is a Fresh Signature there, located almost in the same building. वो marketplace बन जाता है. So, at an operating level, what happens is, I tell my people, go fight Nature's Basket. I'm sure they tell the same thing. In the process, both of us become more efficient, more customer-centric, and together we make that place, that junction, a marketplace which by ourselves we may not be able to do that well. So I love my competition. I think of it only one store at a time, one catchment at a time, and I wish I have competing stores near my stores everywhere.
Sure. Excellent. More the people coming is not the competition, it creates the market. And that's what traditional retailers also have seen. We have seen jewelry shops, coming together, so on and so forth. So the mantra here is never national, always catchment. That's a great insight, Damodar ji. With this, I think we have just crossed the time. I would, Nishant, and this is a final question for you. What role does technology play in making business? How is delivering personalization at scale across the value chain key differentiation for competition? Because everybody has competition, you cannot ignore it. Okay, you have to live with it. But how personalization will change that?
All right. For personalization to happen, you need to get your basic building blocks in place, and starts with a single view of customer, which we've spoken about it multiple times. But a single view of a customer also becomes complex, because for Byju's, it's not about the student 360, it's also about the sibling 360, the little brother or the sister which is gonna join Byju's. For PVR, it is four friends getting together and watching a movie on a regular basis. So again, can we extend and draw, connectivity between four people and what's the attachment to the brand? If you got the building blocks right in place, then it makes the business agile. When Mercedes shifted from a retail or a direct-to-consumer model, which they're calling it as a retail of the future model, they had the building blocks in place. Again, single view of customer, real-time personalization, data culture in place, and it became a pretty successful model in India doing a direct-to-consumer billing. So I would say, get your building blocks in place. AI is a good friend. Leverage data culture, leverage AI, bring in a real-time personalization in your interactions. And lastly, personalization is not a marketing problem or an analytics problem. It's an organization opportunity. So leverage that opportunity and accelerate your business.
Thanks, Nishant. With this, I would ask all our panelists to give the two or three mantras, what they feel, would be the success mantras for forces shaping strategy, which is the topic for today. We'll start with Gunjan and ask him what are his mantras, 1, 2, or 3, whatever you feel, and then we'll, come to end with Damodarji.
Dangerous one to start off with, but I would say, Hitesh, it is very cliched, but it's customer, customer, customer. That's at the heart. If there's a strategy which does not have the customer, then you are doomed.
Thanks. Devendra, please.
Well, this one will be a repetition. Keep the consumer at the center. I know it's again repeated, but I must add another one, so it is a little different. And let me continue from where Damodar left. We stereotype by saying, like, when you asked him modern trade, we all start thinking modern. 10 years back, when these conferences used to happen in Biju and all of us used to be here, the whole conversation was modern trade has come, they'll kill the kirana. Then after 5 years, it was e-commerce has come, it'll kill modern trade. Now came marketplaces come, it'll do this. Now D2C has come, it'll kill horizontal and people will go vertical. Actually, the whole journey is modern. And we should never stereotype and say modern. In pandemic, we all became kirana walas by delivering at home. Nobody was coming to store. But if you keep wearing the lens of modern, then you're forced to do modern things.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you in FMCG, this example, and I've experienced it, like my grandfather used to use a datun, neem, still in the same house. Dad used to use a white toothpaste Colgate, right? We used to use gel. Kids use now mouthwash. So all coexist. And if you go in Delhi, they're still on the ring road, cows sitting in the middle of the road, and there'll be a hathkadi and a normal car and a rickshaw and a Mercedes, and nobody has a problem with the cow in the middle. They'll go from the side. So I think don't be modern for the sake of it. Think actually about the customer, and it's not either or. It is and. We force ourselves sometimes to think to adopt the new, we have to let go of the old. Sometimes it doesn't work.
Thanks. Nishant, you have mentioned, but you can. Yeah.
So for me, it's don't attempt anything in silos. If you're driving a transformation, look at an entire journey. What's the impact that you're going to deliver to the consumer? It starts with the consumer, ends with the consumer, but take a holistic approach.
Yeah. Rajneet?
Well, I'll have to sum it in this way. We have 3 mantras that I follow. Listen, listen, and listen. Listen to your customers. Listen to your employees. Listen to your partners and vendors, because they know much more. Together we know more than we know individually. That's it. Thank you.
Damodarji, you can sum it up here, please.
I won't मैं कम पढ़ा लिखा आदमी हूँ. Grocers are not the most educated people. So, no, I would say what helps me is to have no fixed mantras.
Wow. Is a mantra.
Have optimism and working with the team as your toolkit, and keep listening to the customer and decide this quarter's or this year's or this decade's formula based on what you see. I mean, traveling. I believe we guys who've been working in the industry, haven't even started to feel the optimism in the upside that exists in the market, and the way the customers' mood going forward is going to be in favor of all of us who are in the consumer business. Therefore, travel light, get a clue from the customer and serve her today, and make her happy today is how I travel my journey.
Excellent. Make your customer happy today. And with this, I would like to sum up this session. Just 3-4 points. AI is a good friend. Leverage data, culture, customer centricity. Look at the entire journey, not in silos. Listen. And all of you are very good listeners today. No fixed mantra is one of the mantras that Damodar ji has given. But my favorite is what Damodar ji has told today is optimism. Because there is humongous potential in the market. The Bharat, the India, the consumer, all of them are changing, and we have a full humongous opportunity for us to capture the market and help the consumer solve her problem. So if we do that, then we'll be able to shape our strategy successfully. With this, thank you very much. I am very grateful to all our panelists today. We had less time, but it was a very insightful session. Thanks, Gunjan. Thanks, Damodar ji. Thanks, Devendra ji. Thanks, Nishant, and thanks, Rajni.